And just in case any one of you may not know, the Fulanis are less than 10%, even 1% of who we are in Nigeria. They are less than 3 million. And population is telling us we are 200. In other words, the Fulanis, this egregious hegemony of the Fulani people are less than 1% in our country. And these idiotic people, with the help of the British, Britain, if you're hearing me, you are put on notice. You are not going to get away with it. You have gone a long time. And your useless contraption called Amalgamation of 1914 is already null and void.
Hello and what's up guys. In this video, shocking throwback video of a Yoruba woman has resurfaced online and Nigerians can't stop talking. In the video, she boldly declared that the Fulani, who she claims are less than 1% of Nigeria's population, have no right to dictate to over more than 200 million people. She accused Britain of deliberately empowering the Fulani to dominate, warning London directly that their so-called 1914 amalgamation is now null and void. According to her, the union has expired. It is long overdue and Yoruba and Igbo people will no longer accept it. Her words were fierce. She said the Fulani have turned against the very communities that once gave them shelter and food, calling it a betrayal that will no longer be tolerated. She insisted that neither Yoruba nor Igbo will sit back while outsiders claim control over their resources and future. She also pointed to history, saying the Igbo have existed in the region since the 13th century with deep ancestral roots tracing back to Israel. So she asked, how can Fulani suddenly rise to dictate to those who have been on the land for centuries? The Yoruba woman described Nigeria as an animal farm where a tiny minority rules the majority through British backing. She accused Britain of forcing together powerful southern nations that were already thriving on their own, from Igbo to Yoruba to Benin, and questioned why Nigerians should continue living under that imposed structure. Her final warning was clear: Yoruba and Igbo are united. The 1914 arrangement is dead and Britain has been put on notice. Guys, I will let you watch this video for yourself so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Also, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already done so. Take a look guys and remember to share your thoughts after watching.
Chieftaincy family. Now is what is called the Bajulaye kingship. That's where I came from. So I'm a proper negotiant. That's my father's side. Then from my mother's side, it's called Eletu Iwashi. Because we all need to know our history so that these non-entities, these imbeciles, these moronic, nomadic, idiotic, useless human beings will not come into our land and start to dictate. And just in case any one of you may not know, the Fulanis are less than 10%, even 1% of who we are in Nigeria. They are less than 3 million. And population is telling us we are 200. In other words, the Fulanis, this egregious hegemony of the Fulani people are less than 1% in our country. And these idiotic people, with the help of the British, Britain, if you're hearing me, you are put on notice. You are not going to get away with it. You have gone a long time. And your useless contraption called Amalgamation of 1914 is already null and void. As at yesterday, it was 7 years overdue. Any treaty more than 100 years is overdue. And you have not called us, you have not asked your stooge, the Fulanis, to come to the table. They don't want to judge, they want war. They haven't seen anything yet. They will know what we are made of. The Biafrans and the Yoruba nation, we're not going to take it anymore. The end has come. From my research, I learned that the Igbo people have been even in the area since the 13th century. Yes. I also learned, in case you don't know, the Igbos come from Eri. Eri happens to be the grandson of God. God happens to be the seventh son of Israel, of Jacob, in the Bible. Yes. So if these people have been existing for that long, where did this useless Fulani come to and tell them how to rule their land? How to rule their resources? They want to take over. They are not going to take over. We will not. Maybe we have all been soft, including the Yoruba nation. We have all been soft because we are real humane people. When I look at the Yoruba, because I come from them, my grandfather used to house some of these useless people called Fulanis and houses. We give them money, we give them food. And then they want to turn around and bite the finger that fed them. And I'm saying no, not on our watch. I'm going to be 65 years in another 3 months. I don't want to end this contraption to my grandchildren. I also know that the Igbos are the smartest in Nigeria. I did my research. That's what the research says. And if they've been that long, managing their resources, enterprising, nobody should dictate to them in the 21st century how to run their life. Now to come to the Yoruba people. I know my people are educated. They are sophisticated. They are very cultured. Yep. And sometimes their nicety is not because they are weak. But when you're a human being, you want to treat, that's what the Bible tells us. That's what Jesus said. He said, love the Lord thy God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. And then they asked him, what is the next commandment? He said, love your neighbor as yourself. The Yorubas have been too accommodating. They allow foreigners everywhere to come because they believe what is good for me should also be good for for people around me, and they allow them to come. But it's a shame that right now the Yorubas don't even have a nation. They don't have themselves. The Fulanis has override everything that they're doing. Why are we exiting? Why is there going to be a Yoruba nation exiting? Right now as we are speaking, a master's degree holder as a Yoruba does not have a job in Nigeria. But an Hausa, a Fulani man who went to ordinary high school or elementary school or primary 2 is now a commissioner, is now a director. How? I don't know if every one of you have read George Orwell, 1984. Animal Farm. We are Animal Farm. Animals are dictated to human beings. That is what we have right now in that contraption called Nigeria. And the so-called 1940 amalgamation, which Lord Lugard, in his impunity, had to tell the Northern Protectorate, which consists of the Hausas, and the Southern Protectorate, which consists of the Southeast, the Southwest, the South-South, and the Middle Belt. They call us the Southern Protectorate. Meanwhile, we have been doing our own thing, having our own governance, ruling our own people, issuing orders, enterprises, and we are rich. We all know about Oferami Obini. The kingdom is extremely rich. They have been doing transactions with these British people because they have the insanity to come to Nigeria, to so-called Nigeria, and name our individual nations. Join us together and call us Nigeria. How did they come across Nigeria? I don't know about you. There is no nation in Nigeria that can explain what Nigeria is.
Niger area.
Yes. The Niger River, we have 2 rivers in that country called River Benue on the west and River Niger on the east side. This Lord Lugard, a man that is rotting in his grave, named us Nigeria. And when you know the word nigger, which is an aberration word that they use of blacks in general in this country, you will know that it's not a palatable name to be called. We are not nigger. We are respectable, civilized, cultured, enterprising, successful people. Both the Igbos and the Yorubas. And if you come from Abia, if you come from Imo, if you come from Rivers, even Yoruba.
In 1914, Southern Protectorate and Northern Protectorate of Nigeria were amalgamated. The question is, why were the 2 protectorates joined together? Do not forget that each of the protectorates had a separate administrator, administered themselves separately. But why were they joined together? According to Mark Siloin, in his book, What Britain Did to Nigeria, one of the major reasons why Southern and Northern Protectorate of Nigeria were amalgamated was because there was consistent and persistent budget deficits in the Northern Protectorate, and there was persistent budget surplus in the Southern Protectorate. The colonial administrator needed to fix this, so they amalgamated the 2 protectorates to augment the budget deficit in the north with the budget surplus in the south. Somehow, this made the northern part of Nigeria, or the Northern Protectorate, economically dependent on the south. This reality has an implication on the relationship that began to exist between Southern and Northern Protectorates.
Now that you have taken us to Lugard, let's read from your book. Here you were quoting Dame Margaret Panham, who said in her biography of Lord Lugard, there was a gloomy feeling that Britain, in its deal to take over Nigeria, was being let in for a bad bargain. You said, consequently, as Nicholson noted, the main difficulties in the amalgamation of the North and South Protectorate could be traced back to Lugard's own achievements in the North. There, Instead of administering things and developing services, Lugard had been preoccupied with the widespread extension of rule over the people, an undertaking so unprofitable that it made amalgamation of the viable South and the bankrupt North both far more urgent from the point of view of the home government. I'm interested in this point. Bankrupt North, viable South.
Yes.
How?
It's interesting that people don't learn from history. And it's also interesting that the Nigerian politics today, still goes back to this issue of you have two separate countries, the North and the South. And if you like, the Lagos colony as a third factor, brought together by Lugard simply because of his political agenda. The North was not viable for Lugard because Lugard refused the Home Office from sending administrator to him. He actually made his brother, he introduced nepotism at his worst level to Nigeria. So instead of allowing the Home Office to send an administrator, Lugard resisted it. So he could not raise revenue, he could not develop the place, he could not do anything to help the people. And that's what we are still suffering from today. That the North, was far behind. There was no one university graduate from Nigeria from northern Nigeria in 1950. And when his successor took over from him, he lamented that for 20 years of Lugard's administration, there was no one qualified for the least job from the North.
You're talking about Sir Clifford here. He took over from Lugard.
Lugard. And by the time he took over, there was no one from the North. So the whole problem that we had about development started with Lord Lugard and the way he administered the northern Nigeria before northern Nigeria became unprofitable and needed to bring the southern Nigeria together to raise revenue to run the North.
So the point you're making is the amalgamation was carried out so that the South, the viable South, would help the moribund North. Is that a point?
Correct.
You've also made a point that the North was a country on its own and the South a country on its own.
In a way.
The Northern Protectorate, the Southern Protectorate.
Yes. And the Lagos colony.
And the Lagos colony. Do you feel Lugard should not have amalgamated the protectorates?
He had no choice because there was no way he could run the place without finance. And the only way he could do it was to bring it together. Unfortunately for him, he had people in power to help him. He would not have even been qualified because there was case against him for his activities in South Africa, before he was taken to Nigeria. So, but Chamberlain and his other friend there, they presented to the House that he was the most qualified person. So, in the end, he had the day.
No. When you take the history of Nigeria, from the very beginning, when we were amalgamated, to the very beginning we became a nation, we got it altogether wrong. You bring in people of different culture, different beliefs, different socialization, different milieu, different outlooks, merge them together by force to form a nation. Only the initial builders of Nigeria had a clear vision and a mission, devoid of any sentiment. Soon thereafter, it became clear that it was a wrong union. It was a union that was not properly negotiated. We could have remained a great country if we had isolated our own identities, peculiarities, culture, while contributing to build a nation just like America. But we ended up having people from one generation, one set of leaders to another, everybody coming with a vision and a mission, and destroying the previous ones he met, even if they are good because they are put in place by an imaginary enemy. Secondly, we have a nation where we celebrate criminals. It is only in Nigeria that somebody will clearly steal and loot hugely from the public treasury. And then after some times, you see him receiving national honors. You see him being given chieftaincy titles. You see him being called king, prince, or an emir. That is an indicator that we are yet to be there. We also form a nation. Only the initial builders of Nigeria had a clear vision and a mission, devoid of any sentiment. Soon thereafter, it became clear that it was a wrong union. It was a union that was not properly negotiated. We could have remained a great country if we had isolated our own identities, peculiarities, culture, while contributing to build a nation just like America. But we ended up having people from one generation, one set of leaders to another, everybody coming with a vision and a mission, and destroy the previous ones he made, even if they are good because they are put in place by an imaginary enemy. Secondly, we have a nation where we celebrate criminals. It is only in Nigeria that somebody will clearly steal and loot hugely from the public treasury. And then after some times, you see him receiving national honors. You see him being given chieftaincy titles. You see him being called king, prince, or an emir. That is an indicator that we are yet to be there. We also have a complacent followership. A followership that is satisfied with collecting 500 naira to vote, 1,000 naira to vote, a bar of soap, a tin of milk. On that basis, he surrenders his franchise. It means we are not conscious of our civic duties and responsibilities as a nation. Majority of the common people that are complaining now are also contributing to the destruction of the country in collaboration with the colleagues of the elites. While the elites are losing the treasury, they are hailing them. Today, if a northerner were to be caught stealing 10 billion naira and he is taken to court, believe me honestly, you will see northern organizations, northern elites, some of them saying that he is being persecuted because he's a northerner, because he's a Muslim.
We also saw it in southern Nigeria.
We had such an incident. I can give you, if you give me time. A former managing director of a bank in Nigeria, in northern Nigeria, in between his wife, his house girl, his younger brother, himself, stole 3 billion naira directly from shareholders' money.
Allegedly.
Yeah, no. Just wait. He was taken to court, and he appeared only once before the next adjournment date. Two prominent Islamic scholars, a member of Jama'at Nasr al-Islam, and an elder went and visited the president, interceded on his own behalf. By the next adjournment date, the Attorney General entered a nolle prosequi in his own favor. 4 years after,
that was the end of the case.
4 years after, I saw his name with OON, without being extended presidential predicate of Obasi, without degazetting his name. Until they degazetted, I still have the gazette. He has not been degazetted. 9 years after, another governor from South, maybe he was looking for GCON because this one was giving OON for stealing 3 billion naira. That southern state governor stole 30 billion naira. He was also charged to court. South Elders Forum, members of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Secretary General of Khan visited Mr. President in the villa. I still have the video on NTA. They said, Mr. President, our son being persecuted. The money said to have been stolen by him. Does that money belong to the federal government or to the state government? And the person said the money belongs to him. They said he is our son, we have forgiven him. And that was the end of the story. As if Islam and Christianity is about stealing and looting the public treasury. Until we dispose of this mentality of using religion to intimidate government and to intimidate other people, we have a very, very long way to go. We must not wear the face of Moses and hang the heart of Pharaoh if we want this country to grow.